I'm Bishop Medley of the Diocese of Owensboro, and I welcome you to another edition of Across the Diocese. Today we have a special guest who's going to tell us about a rather unknown outreach of the Catholic Church of West Kentucky, but a very important one. So I want to welcome today Heidi Reyes.
Hi, thank you.
Who has been affiliated with the diocese, or I'll let her tell you something about your background, where you grew up, your education, and how you came to be with us.
Okay, I can give a little bit about myself. I'm Heidi Reyes, and I am from Owensboro. I am Mexican, and I do speak Spanish. My mother, Maria, my dad, Manuel, my sister, Bianca, and I have two siblings as well, Christopher and my little youngest brother, Miguelito. They all live in Owensboro. I am engaged to Larry Taylor, and we have a 2-year-old son, Sebastian, after St. Sebastian. I recently graduated from Brescia University, May 2021.
And you came to work for the diocese, how?
Yes, so I always held an internship while I was in college. It was always nonprofit or law related. I interned for my then director, Susan Montalvo Gesser, in her immigration clinic. And when I worked for her, later on I found out that a position opened up for Catholic Charities of Owensboro. It was for the AmeriCorps Vista position as a community coordinator. So I applied for it and I got it. One of my main projects that I did was creating a resource directory. Okay. And so I did that for 2 years, as well as community events and really creating more awareness depending on if it was COVID related or even with just telling them about our resources for Catholic Charities of Owensboro. Mm-hmm.
But your position transformed to something different.
Yes.
And that's what we really want to talk about today is you're a part of the Bakhita Project.
Correct, yes.
Tell us who St. Josephine Bakhita was first.
So our program was first established about 13 years ago, could be a little more. The main office is in Louisville. We have a satellite office in Lexington, and the recent new satellite office in Owensboro, where I reside now. It was named after Saint Bakhita. She was a woman who was born in Dunfar in the region of Sudan in the 1860s, I believe. And during her time there, she was sold as a slave to slave traders at the age of 7 years old. She was resold and resold up until the age of 15. And during that time, she encountered severe trauma from her state in being a slave. It was so severe that she forgot her name. So her name was given to her, and it was Bakhita. Later on, after a few years, she somehow moved to Italy, where she met sisters, and they renamed her Joseph Margaret. But now she's a saint, so we know her as Saint Josephine Bakhita.
And the Bakhita Project, of which you're employed, what's its aim? I know it has to do with human trafficking. Mm-hmm. Most of us really can't define what human trafficking is, so
human trafficking consists of two things, sex or labor exploitation. So if there's a sort of exploitation and it falls within the two ranks with no specific indicators, then it most likely is human trafficking. But defining it is still very case to case.
So I think the question I'll pose is one most people in Western Kentucky will pose. Mm-hmm. Does that really happen in Western Kentucky?
Yes,
people are trafficked.
It definitely happens everywhere. I think the main reason why we're most likely unable to even fathom the idea that it happens in our own backyard is because we don't have exact numbers. Force, fraud, and coercion act very, very strongly when determining whether a person is able to speak up or even ask for help. And usually, because the control is so is so well done, a person is unable to just reach out for help.
So oftentimes when I might think of trafficking, I think of someone being caged, but the coercion is of a different nature. We may know people and we may not be aware of the exploitation that they're being subjected to. Is that right?
Correct. It's very easy to kind of see the TV, movies, TV, and say, oh, that person is chained up, you know, they're being moved from one place to the next, and they're being exploited, whether it is sexually or through labor. And the reality is, it does happen like that, but we most commonly see it in restaurants, you know, working 60, 70, 80 hours a week with minimum wage, if even that, or perhaps even less than that, with no breaks, you know, compensation that's around $200 to $300. You know, it's not just restaurants, it could be farms, it could be domestic, when we ask someone to clean our home, and, you know, we overly worked, underpaid. So that's labor exploitation. And it doesn't also mean that a child is exploited. Most people think that sexual exploitation is through children, and we always say, save our children. They are very vulnerable to it, but it could be any age, at any time.
So the coercion can relate to just any vulnerable person, child or adult, who maybe has nowhere else to turn?
Yes.
Maybe has a questionable migration or refugee status, I guess?
Oh, definitely. Our immigration populations, our refugees, are another one of those vulnerable populations that at least I've tried to connect with in my time as a case manager for human trafficking survivors. Lately, we've been doing educational presentations in the communities and distributing information, letting them know that I'm here and that we have a vast amount of resources to provide them. They no longer have to, well, no one should feel like they can't talk to someone or reach out to someone, because there are people like Catholic Charities of Louisville and Owensboro that are ready to assist with anything that they need, whether that be with assistance in their investigations, assistance financially, assistance finding a therapist. We could assist with really anything that a person needs, in the sense of creating empowerment for that person to leave their situation. So building trust is the main thing. And I hope that throughout my work I'm able to create trust in the community.
Anything else you'd want to add about the whole subject of the Bakhita Foundation or trafficking in general?
I have worked in the community, volunteered since I was a child, so I know the areas that needs the most attention: education, awareness, building of trust, and with the help of Catholic Charities, I know that we're going to be able to do really great things, and people are going to be able to speak up more. Our organization, through Bakhita Empowerment Initiative, couldn't be done without the leadership of Marissa Castellanos, my director, and my supervisor, Amy Nestegonda. They have really led this organization and grown it to where it is now, and I know there's many more years of expansion, but there should be no reason that a person cannot overcome their traumas through work and dedication, and through the connection and collaboration with our agency.
Great. Well, as the bishop, I'm very proud that this is one of the outreaches of Catholic Charity. Glad that someone is doing that, and I hope that if there's someone who feels themselves exploited, or if they've observed someone being exploited, they know now of a valuable resource in our community. So thank you, Heidi. Keep up the good work.
Thank you.